live for a decent amount of time right now, honestly, for the last um yeah, it honestly really does not matter. So let's jump into this weekly starts and sits. Sorry, somehow we have it not the way we would want it. There we go. There we go. As always, first little bit, got to get us zoomed in. Okay, that will work. Okay, let's quickly go through the top ones as we always do. If you have questions, feel free to pop them in the comments and we will answer them. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Jordan Love. Jordan Love is actually my top option. And if you're playing daily, I really like him to be built around. His lowest points that he's given in any given week that he's started has been 17 points. That's a really good floor. I'm a little shocked to see Caleb Williams this high. He's been little Mr. Jekyll and Dr. Hyde, but we will see. Maybe he just needs those first few games to get it together. Sam, I mean, we saw the game Thursday. He just continues to pull it out. This is a game that I'm really interested in. Stroud. Last week against the Packers, he put up a huge dud. So it's really going to be interesting to see how he bounces back. I like Stroud, but it's just something that I'm telling people to look out for. Uh, Moving on into a little bit more of the questionable sections, I can't believe Mahomes is in that, but we talked about that last week. I would like Christian Kirk over Mahomes and Bo Nix. I think he's a little too low. Jared Goff. If you're following me for daily, I tell you all the time, Geno Smith is kind of my quarterback floor. I think that it's a really good thing to build around him in daily because you can get him so cheap and splurge at our positions. Tua, I think as long as Tua's in healthy, he should be in the top 10. So if you're looking for someone to stream because of injuries, look for Tua. Anthony Richardson, I have him near the bottom. His best game of the season was against Houston, but that was because of those deep bombs he passed, and it looks like defenses have really started rolling deeper coverage to try to make him pass in that short to intermediate where he struggles. Baker Mayfield, man, his feel good story, unfortunately, is coming to an end because he is missing his top targets, which is sad. So I would actually have him probably in the Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton down here in this area. Dak, all these feel about right. Now zoom in on Jaden Daniels. If you do not know, the whole reason why Jaden Daniels, who has been amazing this year, is this low is he has banged up ribs, which should hamper his rushing ability. It sounds like he's going to start, but if it's him or Mariota, either one of them, I'm looking to start someone else if I can. How's it going, Lions fan? Man, it's been a great season for you guys. If you have any questions, pop them in there. All right. Let's get into the last ones. I think anyone that is Bryce Young, uh, Derek Carr, if he starts, any of these people are probably more of sleeper flex. Drake May, it's going to be the first time he's played a really decent defense, so we'll see how he does. Drew Lock, Gardner, Minshew, none of these guys do I have too much interest. Joe Flacco, it'll be interesting to see how quickly they make the switch if Richardson does struggle again. I honestly think they won't because at the end they invested so much in him. I think that when he's healthy, they just have to roll with him. And for note for future weeks coming up, you have, Herbert I'd have a little higher, but the one I want to highlight is Stafford. He has all of his weapons back, so I would definitely look to move him up if you can after the waivers. And we'll see how Russell Wilson does. I'm shocked he's down at 25. I'm probably starting him up in this mid-tier section just for the fact that Russell was pretty decent. All right, let's move on to the running back positions, guys. They have Brees Hall, number one. It's interesting to see him that high as he really hasn't done much, and he's been in a little bit of a timeshare with Allen. So I don't know exactly how I feel about Brees Hall being number one. Henry, I mean, he's going up against a good Cleveland defense, but I think anytime Henry is a smash start until he proves otherwise. Saquon, let's jump down to someone that's questionable. Jordan Mason. The only thing I would give to fans out there is start looking towards the future. It sounds like Christian McCaffrey's coming back at any moment, and we saw how it was with Elijah Mitchell, whenever he was the number two, he didn't get much play. So if you can flip him or just start looking at the waiver wire, you might have to make a switch from a guy who's been a stud for you in fantasy. Kyren, Bijan, these are all. Kareem Hunt, another one, kind of like Jordan Mason. It sounds like Pacheco might be back in the next few weeks. So, ride him while you can. You got him for nothing, but we will see. Gibbs, even against a tough Tennessee defense, definitely in the top 10. Dobbins, man, if you do not know this, he is only 25. Maybe the injuries are a little bit behind him, and he gives you a nice, spurt the rest of the year. Hopefully, a couple more years. I mean, you hate when you see someone with the potential get hurt like that, but Harbaugh definitely knows how to use a lead back. Moving on down, A-Chain. I think this should be finally a good game because Tua can make the defense respect him passing the ball. So if you're someone that drafted A-Chain in the second or third round, then this is what you've been waiting for. Josh Jacobs, definitely a start. Swift, he's someone that I'm a little bit questionable because he's faded the last couple of years. We'll see. He's been definitely running wild the last 2 weeks after starting terribly. Maybe it's just the offense finding its way. But if I could flip Swift, I definitely will. Jonathan Taylor, I had one league where I had him and who was it that was a question for me. So it's kind of like this little group. It was him, David Montgomery, Brian Robinson, Pollard. If you're in that kind of question mark, I put Jonathan Taylor in. He was drafted end of the first round, top of the second. He hasn't been that healthy, but at least with Richardson, they have to respect both of them running. So hopefully Taylor has a pretty good game. Moving on, Javonte Williams. It looks like he is finally starting to, relive the potential he had his rookie year after that injury. I know a lot of people drafted him, and then he got dropped after the first few weeks. If you scooped him up or hung on to him, it's finally starting to pay some dividends. Montgomery, I don't think we have to talk about, other than he might be a little bit limited on carries because of the fact that he is a little banged up. James Cook, he's someone that I'm keeping an eye on because Ray Davis has shown he's even more explosive than Cook. Cook, I believe, is in his third year, so he only has one more year. And right now, it looks like it's at least 70-30, so that's something to keep an eye on. But for this week, I like him. Brian Robinson, I mean, he's just been fantastic. Eckler looked like he's going to hurt him, but he's someone I think you can definitely start. This is where we get into some of the more questionable stuff. Najee should have a good game against a terrible Giants defense. Kamara, I'm having lower, depending on who the quarterback is, but the juice, like it has the last few seasons, starting to run out. He's old, man. Tank Bigsby, I think, should have a pretty good kind of run going forward. The Packers, though, are a top 5 fantasy defense. Chuba, another one of those guys I'm talking about. I play him this week, but I don't know what to do in the future going. They drafted a great running back in the second round, and with Young, you saw how Chuba did the first few. What are my thoughts on golf? Definitely golf this week. If you want me to quickly flip back, sorry guys, we'll go back to the quarterback position. I did glance over golf. He's kind of in this section that I kind of view as just you start the guy. So golf right here at 15. I definitely like him in that group with Kirk Cousins, Tua. I probably have him over Tua just because you don't know how he's going to be. I think golf is a little safer than Cousins, Bo Nix. So I probably have him more towards the 11-12 over Mahomes. That's what I personally feel about golf. I like him. He's super undervalued. I mean, if you look back at the trade between the Rams and the Lions committed robbery now that you look at it. The Rams, to their defense, they got what they wanted. They got that Super Bowl, so in the end, the trade is worth it. But again, golf, first-round draft picks, it's been great for the Lions and their championship windows open, which is tough for me as a Packers fan to say. But I would definitely start golf and have him near the top 10. All right, running back position. Sorry, guys, again. Win-wins. I don't know exactly who you're asking about. Yes, win-win. Definitely win-win, Lions fan. Okay, back down here to, kind of the questionable guys. Rico Dow. He's the most talented back on the Cowboys, and I mean, the sooner Cowboys, you guys blow up your coaching staff. Jerry somehow isn't your GM, but anyways, Dowdle should be your main back. But because it is Jerry, you're gonna get some Zeke, you're gonna get some old man Cook, where Dowdle's the most explosive person. I don't know what else to say. Madsen, he's someone that has been getting a lot of good fancy points. I think against KC, I'm sitting him because of the fact that they are the top rush defense in fantasy football, but I like Matson. I picked him up in a few leagues to stash on the waiver wire for whenever I need him for matchups and injuries. But going forward, he's definitely the lead back. Tyrone Tracy, someone else that I recommend picking up and just kind of hanging on to. Same with Bucky Irving, that little group there. Tracy should be switching with Singletary as the lead guy here, and same thing Bucky Irving. I mean, he is just such a smash, get those yards. I like Bucky Irving. Coming out of the combine, it was one of those things where he didn't test well, but his film was great. So those are three people I would look to add this week. Don't even look how they do. But going forward, they should definitely be on your team depending on matchups and injuries. Now we just start getting into a section that I think is sits. I mean, Warren against Giants because they're terrible. But Algier, he gets a decent kind of run, but I think again, Bijan's starting to round into a form everyone thought. Eckler, don't touch. Ray Davis is one more of those guys that you kind of hang on to see. Down here in this group, if you really had to start someone, Charbonnet has been getting 30%, especially with the passes and stuff like that, but not too much. I think Dearness Johnson, because of the fact that Etienne's out again. This is the one I would probably go with. Roschon Johnson, because Washington has a terrible defense and he should be getting some goal line. So if he can come in and vulture TD or something, definitely not bad. If there's anyone else you guys want to talk about in running backs, just pop it into the questions. Let's quickly go to the wide receiver rankings. Number one, Justin Jefferson. I mean, that game already happened, but he's quickly reestablished himself that no matter who the quarterback is, he is the man. Let's see who we need to talk about. CeeDee Lamb. Let's see if he can get right. It's been a while since he's the guy that in some leagues was going number one overall. So Lamb just needs to start putting together, but the Cowboys as a whole, I would blame it more on the dysfunction. Someone yesterday asked me if they would trade CD in Dynasty for number one, and it was honestly, it was some secondary piece like Tolbert or someone like that. And I was like, no way. I was like, CD is still someone you get at least two number ones. Amon-Ra, smash start. Drake London moves up to being in the top 5 fantasy wide receivers, if you didn't know, especially at that slow start. Number 2, sadly, is Godwin. If you've been watching this channel, I've been talking about him all season, so that's sad when you lose the number 2 wide receiver in all fantasy. Jaden Reed, he's the only Packers wide receiver that I start with any confidence right now. It looks like it's Reed and Dobbs, but if you've been following them, you know at any moment it can go from Dobbs to Watson to Wicks to Bo Melton. It's just a really tough. All right, here we go. Start one. Pollard, Pittman, oh man. So Jalen McMillan, I do like, but I want to see how he kind of connects with Baker. For me, it's Pollard. Pittman, any passer on Indianapolis, it's sad because I know how high a lot of us took Pittman, myself included. I'm not starting a single wide receiver, so Pollard's the answer. Start 2 out of Sutton, Pittman, Waddle, Robinson, McMillan. Wan'Dale Robinson. I think I'm going to Wan'Dale Robinson out of this group because of the fact that he is purely getting the volume. Oh, man. Sutton has a good matchup. So I'm going Robinson and Sutton, followed by Pittman and McMillan. The reason why McMillan I have so low is because there's Palmer and there's Shepard, and you don't quite know how it's going to work out. So if I had to give you, kind of rank and be Wan'Dale Robinson, Sutton and Pittman are both right there. Maybe even Pittman a little bit better because of the fact that the defense on Houston's been terrible. And Joe and McMillan, I definitely think you wait and see. So any other questions, guys? Let's jump back into this. No problem. Yeah, I get it. You've got a tough decision there, but I think Wandale's the easiest. He's getting like 11 targets, if you guys didn't know. It's the volume for Wandale is nuts, even with neighbors. Sun and Pittman's a real question, but McMillan, yeah, Devontae, Debo, or Adams. Okay, you have all three. Adams, I think, has the best game. Debo, he had pneumonia, guys. People, aren't talking about that because it's saying likely, but he had pneumonia. So I think I'm going with Devontae Adams, and then if it's Devontae Smith, so I'm going Adams, Devontae Smith, Debo. Any other questions? Just pop in there, guys. All these are must starts. Brian Thomas Jr. is amazing. I That was probably the rookie at the value I love the most in dynasty drafts. I was just talking about Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper. I'm shocked to see him this low, and I saw a bunch of people were fading him. He is going to be the top guy in Buffalo. He showed a little bit last week. It's now another week of practice. So if you're doing daily, he's the one you can build in. Tank Dell's kind of interesting. He hasn't shown much at all since the injury bug kind of hit them. We'll see. Indy is vulnerable, but for the most part, I think it's Diggs and then Tank Dell, just if you have to. Debo, I talked about, he had pneumonia. I'm only playing him if I had to. If not, he is going to be on my bench. Waddle, anyone on Miami jumps back up to where you originally thought. Waddle was, a little bit higher than this. Devontae Smith, we just talked about. I think he's start against Cincinnati. That game probably is going to be a shootout. I say that and then watch. It'll be one of those like 13, 17 games. Zay Flowers has really started to come on and be more consistent. Mooney, this is someone else who I would look to start, especially if you're in 3 wide receiver, multiple flex, or if you're doing daily. Mooney has been amazing, and his floor's been around 7 points, so he's not completely hurt you when he's not boomed. Scary Terry, this is one of the few that I'm watching very carefully. I think with the Bears defense, and Jaden Daniels sounds like he's going to play, but no matter what, I'm probably leaving him on my bench unless I just have to play him, just because the fact that I want to see who the quarterback is, but also I just think Chicago has a legit defense. Marvin Harrison Jr., it's interesting seeing the guy that everyone was so hyped up about tanking for, that he's this low. I think it's just more of his rookie year. He's finding his way, and I would start him if I had to. Xavier Worthy, he's someone I'm a little bit lower. I would have him, honestly, in this group. I would have Worthy because the rumor is I haven't even gone to Hopkins. I would have Hopkins kind of around this range, but Hopkins is supposed to be a full go, and so look for him to be valuable. But Worthy, I'm putting him honestly down in the Jerry Jeudy, Shalil Shakir, because he, in my opinion, is MVS with a little bit better hands. So that's why they give him a few more design runs and stuff like that, but I'm just not that high on him. Dobbs, as we talked about, he right now is the other hot hand. Chris Olave, I'm sitting unless I just had to play him. The Chargers defense is real, and that's a defense I've been high on since the beginning because Harbaugh knows defenses. Let's see here. JSN should do well. If you haven't heard yet, DK's most likely out. Same with Lockett, so both of those should be starts. Calvin Ridley, it's a pass, guys. I'm not touching him. Lad McConkey is starting to emerge. I can definitely see using him in your flex or wide receiver 3 if you need to. For me, Keenan Allen's just starting to become a pass. I think injuries and him not being in rhythm. Cortland Sutton, another one. See, as Bo Mixes emerge, Sutton's kind of dropped, and we'll see how he does. Again, we talked about Hopkins very briefly. He should be about 10 spots higher. Definitely look for that. I'm starting him in quite a few leagues. Joe McMillan, we talked about. So I'll do it again if you are just not jumping in. McMillan, Palmer, Shepard, all those for me are sits but holds. I want to see who kind of emerge. If you have room on your bench, I'm definitely picking up 1 or 2 of those guys to see, especially with all the injuries. But I do not feel comfortable starting any of those guys. Rome Odunze, he should be above Keenan Allen. Christian Kirk, he's a sit. I'm at the Green Bay Packers defense. Hopefully he does enough deep to open up for Brian Thomas. Michael Pittman, he did get decent volume the last couple of weeks with Anthony Richardson, but as I discussed, he's a sit unless I just have to start him. Ricky Pearsall, again, kind of the same situation with the guys that are down there in Tampa Bay. If there's anyone else, Wandale Robinson, I've talked about him, just the pure volume. He's someone that if you need a flex or wide receiver three, you love it because he's getting like 11 targets. Okay, quickly moving on to tight end position. Kittle, Brock Bowers. I'm gonna say it again. I've been saying it. Kelsey, I'm not the biggest fan of. If you're doing daily, I'm not paying up for Kelsey. I have Kelsey honestly down here around that 14, 15. I think honestly, it's not the Taylor Swift thing. It's just age. It started to catch up to him a little bit. It happened to Gonzalez. It happens to all the greats. So I think he's more in that 15 to 12 range. Njoku, definitely like him. He has a quarterback that can actually throw the ball. McBride. Kyle Pitts, I will give you a little bit of an apology. I hate it on you. You are top 10 viable, but you're still a little too boomer busty. Ferguson, he's someone that I think you start. All right, even with the Cowboys lost ship, I think they're going to feed him and CD the ball since that's the top two to try to get right against a tough 49ers. Evan Ingram, definitely a start. Ott, the only reliable pass catcher, probably the only guy who can tell you pass catching is start. Tucker Kraft. Let's see here. Down here, we have Cole Kmet. Mark Andrews is starting to show some life. Hunter Henry, we will see. He's become kind of the top pass option for Drake May. For that reason, I don't hate him. Down here in this group, I am going with Freiermuth, definitely. So after Hunter Henry, it's probably going to be Freiermuth for me. Jonnu Smith, Zach Ertz, Conklin, all these I probably have above, like Isaiah Likely, Noah Fant, Taysom. Let's see here, what else? That's probably the last one I can recommend. Someone who I always say if you're in desperation points is Noah Gray because he does get sometimes 3 to 5, and when he does, he's explosive. He's a lot like Isaiah Likely, but not as much play. Okay, let's go on to the last position we talk about before talking about the teams and the bets we like. Defenses. Broncos versus Carolina. Broncos defense is a smash start here. Same with the Steelers. Let's see where we get into some questionable ones. Okay, Chargers are available and out there. I definitely can see picking them up if you're making a last second decision. Lions defense, same against Tennessee. The Jets defense started off so hot, but they've been bad like the last 5 weeks. So I actually have them lower. I have them down here in kind of like the 49ers range, to be honest. The Packers are start. Houston Texans, their defense hasn't been that great. The only team that Indy's done great against has been the Texans. So we shall see. Minnesota, obviously that game's over. We've discussed the Bears a lot. So I think everyone's going to be interested to see if the Bears can hold up. Buffalo Bills versus Seattle, I think that's an easy start. San Francisco against Dallas. I mean, Dallas is a hot dumpster fire mess, so we shall see. Miami's defense, we'll see. Arizona has a lot of talent. Let's see here. Down here, anyone else, if you just had to start someone, it's probably the Falcons because of the fact that all the wide receivers are out for Tampa Bay. Now on to the teams and the bets. Try to get this in real quick before any books close. Cardinals and Dolphins. Let me spread this out a little bit, guys. Sorry. Going to zoom out. All right, there we go. A little bit more. Sorry. Again. Sorry when I do this on touchscreen. I hate it myself too. All right, so we have the Cardinals and Dolphins. I personally like the Cardinals and the 4.5 points if that's something that you're looking for. Over under 46.5. I'm probably going to touch that over as well. Packers Jaguars. I think you can take the Packers and easily give up the 3.5 points. I'm not touching the over under on this because the Jags have been just so hit or miss. Jets Patriots. They got the Jets -7, and to be completely honest, I'm not doing that. I'm taking the Jets in the money line if I'm doing it at -350, which is not a good value, but I'm not touching 7 points with that Jets team. Ravens Browns. I think you can easily take the Ravens in the money line. Again, 7 points. We'll see how Jameis does. Jameis has a decent defense. He has some pass catchers. So I think when it's one of those unknowns, if I'm building, I'm definitely just going with the money line. Now on to the Eagles Bengals, the game everyone should be really interested in. I'm personally going to go with the Bengals. If T Higgins, I haven't looked to see if he's out though. I think then you go with the Eagles. So just quickly, if you're thinking about betting on that, look to see the final status of T Higgins. Colts Texans. I think it's the Texans easily. Take the Texans and money line. If you want to, I can also see the 5.5 giving that away. Titans, Lions all day long. Money lines minus 750, but it has them at minus 12.5. For an NFL team, that's just way too much. I can't give up 12.5. If you want to do a money line, I can see teasing it down to like 8, but yeah, I'm not touching that spread just because it is an NFL team. Falcons, Buccaneers. All the Buccaneers banged up. I think you do the Falcons and you take the minus 1.5. I think that's an easy 1.5 to go with. Then we're on to the Saints and Chargers. I think you take the Saints and the money line, the minus 350. 7.5, I think that's a lot. That is definitely a lot. If it was like 5, I do not like that spread, so I would do the money line if I could tease it down to like 5.5. Bills, Seahawks should be a great game. I'm going with the Bills in the minus 3, especially with DK being out, if you guys do not know that. We're on to the Bears and the Commanders. So much about that is with the quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels is banged up, and for that reason, even if he does play, I'm going with the Bears, and I will do the money line of the Bears. Well, actually, may as well. Let's see here. The money line plus 1 is 115. Sorry, the spread is plus 1 at 115. That's interesting, but the money line is 105. So the Bears go with the money line at the minus 105 if you're taking that bet. I did not even catch that earlier when I was looking at this. Chiefs Raiders, easily the Chiefs. I think there's no question. This is the one at 8.5. I definitely think you can take the Chiefs in the 8.5. The Raiders are just a complete hot mess. Down to the Panthers and Broncos. It's the Broncos. Minus 11. I can see taking the minus 11. Young just does not look like he can be an NFL quarterback, and the Broncos have a good defense. Finally, Cowboys 49ers. I think the 49ers win. I'm doing the 49ers and the money line. The over-under's at 47.5. I'm probably taking the over. All right, guys. It is about 4 minutes until. Let me quickly flip, if I can, to the games for tomorrow, or see if there's any other questions. Anyone? All right. So for tomorrow's game, let's see here. Sorry, guys, if you're still logged in. All right. So for Monday night, we had the Giants and the Steelers. I think it's the Giants very, very easily. The spread is -6, and it's the Steelers at home. I think you can easily do the Steelers and the -6, and I would definitely do some rushing props for the Steelers. Harris and Warren. I'd probably do. Their top running back. I would do. Let's see here what it's got for the rushing. Quickly. Rushing. Alternative passing. Rushing group. Najee Harris, 63.5. I'm probably going over the 63.5 if that's what you're looking. All right, guys, that's what we got for you. Good luck. I hope you guys win, and we helped. And we will be live again on Tuesday doing waiver wire advice. Have a great week, everyone.